Yeah! Oh yeah! Dreadbox Typhon modulator video. Welcome to Gear-Splaining. By the way, we've covered now the filter, and we've covered some killer features, including these two knobs, the amp time and filter time knob. They're both really awesome. Now we're going to cover the modulator section. The modulator section includes 3 modulator channels, or whatever you want to call them. In each one, you can select between LFO, envelope generator, sample and hold, and step sequencer. Each one can go to a variety of targets across the device. There's a bunch of standardized targets, and with the newest firmware update, there's a lot of custom targets that you could do, and we're going to get into all that. The modulators are really flexible. You can do modulator to modulator, which means you can create evolving tapestries, as you're going to hear, and that's really good for styles like techno or ambient. Creating pads that have evolving waveforms is really possible with this, because you're able to go over a long throw of time and change things up. So we're going to get in depth with how to use the modulators, how to set them up, how to get the most out of them, what the features are, and hopefully create something cool. Now, if you want to hear the cool thing I did, it's like in the middle of the video, but then as I keep on showing features, it becomes awful. So, the idea is to show you how to use the features, but then sometimes when you just keep on throwing features on a patch, it gets very complex. So, forewarning. That said, though, you will learn how to use the modulators. It's very quick, it's very easy. I know that there's a lot of power in this box, and sometimes when there's a lot of capability in a box, people get a bit nervous that there's a lot underneath the hood. The layout is so smart and so well designed that actually taking the modulators and really getting a lot out of them in order to craft custom sound design is very simple. So enjoy. If you find this video useful, please hit share, please hit subscribe, and let's get into it. All right, so you just heard a little bit of what we're going to discuss today. You just heard modulation on delay. That's what was so cool about that. If you think about what you were listening to, what was going on there was the delay, left and right, were being modulated by one of the modulators. The modulator is being modulated, and that modulator is being modulated. So what it was creating was an evolving tapestry of sounds, in this case, delay pings. The application of that means that you could also use that to create evolving tapestries of ambient or anything, really. It's very cool how much modulation is available. That's what we're going to dive into. We're going to do effects on another video. So we've started a patch here that relies on modulation, and we're going to go over every single thing about modulation. So here we go. You have 3 modulators: Modulator 1, Modulator 2, Modulator 3. They're all more or less identical, except there's a contextual difference in the custom targets. That contextual difference is if you're on Modulator 1, you can't choose a custom target in Modulator 1. If you're on Modulator 2, you can't choose a custom target in Modulator 2. Aside from that, these are all identical, so we're just going to go over one. All right. The first 3 rows are, in general, static. Once you set them, they're there. Destination allows you to then choose different levels per destination. So a lot of things can be 0. One thing on here is currently 34. One is -24. It's also bipolar. Rate, wave, and fade are the first 3 faders. Rate can either run free, or you can set it to BPM or BPM key, which is where it resets every time MIDI note on data is received by Typhon. Here's how you do that. Click here, go into number 2, sync options in the menu, and then you can choose what type of sync each modulator gets. Worth noting, in this menu you can also choose FX3, what kind of clock it receives. This is good for tempo sync delay effects. Okay, but we're going over the modulator right now. Let's listen to our sound. All right, so this one has something kind of neat going on. It sounds almost percussive, and I'm going to go over why. All right, so I've set it to BPM, so the rate is currently at ×2. You can do divided by 32 or times 32. And 16, 8, 4, 2, 1. So you're factoring binary here. We're going to go ×2. So that's a little bit fast. There are a couple waveforms. There's a triangle waveform. There's a sawtooth, so ramp down. There is square, pulse width modulated square. Kind of like a sine with some compression. That's what we're using on this patch. This thing, which here I'll play it for you. So why is this sounding so percussive? The reason why is because the destination and the level. I have destination CV, which is overall pitch between both oscillator 1 and 2, and I have level -24. Level is bipolar, so you can go high, +24, or low, -24. If you look at the slope on this, it's a rise, followed by flat, followed by fall. So that would make the pitch go up and then plateau, then back down if it ran its whole cycle. So, Well, if you want to get a percussive tone, what you want to do is you want to have a declining pitch. So start high, very quickly run low. So we set the waveform and we set negative polarity onto CV1. By the way, fade is for how long it will take after trigger for it to come in. This is useful if you want to do like vibratos, but the vibrato doesn't start right away. We're going to keep that at 0 though. Okay, you can set different destinations to have different levels. Everything else stays static on the modulator. One that's pretty interesting is VCA. If you set that, even if it's not running, we'll check it out. It's opening up the VCA. We're going to close that though. And you can invert the polarity on that as well. Here's your destinations. CV, which is overall pitch. CV1, which is oscillator 1 pitch. CV2, oscillator 2 pitch. So if you want to do like a really mild detune, set 1 and then have the other one warble against it, that's how you do it. Set CV2. Wave is your wave shape selector. So if you want to do a pulse width modulation, this region right here, kind of at 11 o'clock or so, set the destination there and then a little bit of level, and this will wiggle it. It'll move the knob for you and create pulse width modulation. Cutoff is cutoff. VCA we just went over. All right, effects. This is level of effect, depth. Filter FM, which if you saw on the filter video that we were just on is really awesome. I have it applied to about 49%, so it spices things up as it progresses. FX2 level. FX3 level. All right, and then you have 3 custom destinations. This came out in the most recent firmware update. We're going to set them. Click into the menu. Go to Custom Targets. M1, M2, M3. Each one gives you 3 custom targets. That's Modulator 1, Modulator 2, Modulator 3. These are set by default to resonance, envelope generation level, and F31, which is what we're going to modify and go over what that means. Click into it. FX3, parameter 1. So that's slider 1 on FX3. We're going to do that. We're going to leave that there. And we're going to set the second modulator to be custom 2. We're going to find effects 3. We're going to do parameter 2. All right. I've now set 2 custom targets for modulator 1. The targets I set are in effects 3, parameter 1, parameter 2. So in this case, I currently have it set to reverb. Again, the effects video is coming later. I'm going to set it actually so that we're on delay. I have the delay beat synced. I'm going to throw damp down, feedback a little bit low. Time, divide by 4. That's what it's going to modulate, is left and right time. Modulator 1. Go to custom 1, effects 3. Set a little bit of level to it. Effects 2, set a little bit of level to that. So we're moving around left and right. Cool. All right, so you're able to hear the delay move around, and when the delay moves around, it time stretches the buffer, and that's one of the cool sounds that you hear. There's other delays in here. We're going to go over that in the next video. We're going to keep it on this one though for now. All right, so we've covered LFO right now. We're going to move to Modulator 2, and we're going to explore the other types of modulation available. You have LFO, envelope generation. So you have 2 dedicated envelopes that we went over in the last video, filter and amp. This allows you to just create any other envelopes you want and set them to any other destinations that you want, including multiple destinations. You can set A, D, R. So this is kind of like the mini Moog setup where decay and release are on the same thing, but no one ever misses it. Sustain, custom destinations, again, same custom destination schema we went over on Modulator 1, and custom level per destination. Sample and hold, rate, lag, probability, destination and level. Again, you set custom destinations, they each have their own level. Step sequencing, you can step sequence your modulation. Okay. Here's the rub there. That only works when the internal sequencer is running. So if you're running the internal sequencer, which is here, that'll run. But if you're not doing that, if you have an external sequencer going, an external sequence playing, that won't work. Let's go over how that happens. So what happened there was chaos. I had a sequence coming from here hitting it, and the internal sequencer was running as well. Here's how you work with that. I'm going to change this down to length 1, probability 0. We're going to have a whole sequencer video, so should happen now. The internal sequencer is now running, but you don't hear anything. Turn that probability up. This is a 1-note sequence. we're getting distracted. We're going to do a whole video on sequencing later. For now, just know the step sequencer, you pick a step, or you pick the number of steps you want it to be with fader 1. You pick the step you want it to be on. So I can't pick anything else because I only have one step total in here. But once I move it up, I can pick different steps. And then each one has a different level. Then that goes to destinations levels. So you can write step sequences here, but you have to be running the internal sequencer. All right, we're gonna go over envelope generation first. I'm going to set up a custom target for Modulator II. So I need to select Modulator II, and I want it to go to high pass filter cutoff. So custom target 1 on Modulator 2 is going to be HPF. Get it back out now. Going to find it. Right there. So I have an envelope generator on the high pass filter in effects 1. This will be cool. Watch. So now, gonna clear up the delay a little. I'm going to set it a little high. All right, we now have an envelope that triggers on Modulator 2, but it's not quite there yet. To do it correctly, you want to put that on BPM key, or just key, in fact. Key works great if you're doing an envelope. All right, now it's retriggering every time it receives MIDI note data. All right, Modulator 2 we have set to envelope. Modulator 3, let's do the sample and hold. All right, let's pick a target for it. Let's do VCA. Maybe not VCA, let's try turn lag down. Probability is the chance that it happens. If you go to about 75, it's 3 and 4. Yeah, we will do VCA. So every 4th note, or 1 in 4 notes actually, is not happening right now. We're going to lower the level. And that's how the sample and hold works. The sample and hold is not a true sample and hold. It's not like on an ARP Odyssey where it's a combination of random factors, or not random factors, that you then just mix to create something seemingly random. It has its own kind of random probability schema. And it's based on rate and probability. You can lag it. Okay, we have a pretty cool sound. Let's hear it in context with drums. All right, so we've covered modulators now. You have 3 of them. You have 4 different types: LFO, envelope generation, sample and hold, and step sequencer. They are all static except for the destination allows you to contextually change the level, and there are custom targets per modulator that allow you to modulate everything. Now, in the last firmware revision, Dreadbox included, based on a request in the forum on Facebook, a pretty cool target for modulation, and we are going to do it. So it's tempo. You can modulate tempo with this thing. Now that means that, if it's receiving external clock, it won't work. We're going to turn that off. We're going to go to Global Settings, Master Clock, Internal. We're going to back out now. We're going to make the step sequence on here 3 long. Okay, now here's what we're going to do. We are going to set Modulator 1, which was an LFO. No, we'll do Modulator 2, an envelope generator. This should be fun. No, we'll do 1, LFO. We're going to set up a custom target. Oops. And it is going to be tempo. X32 starts to create its own tempo. Gonna turn it to free run. See, it's still running, is the thing. It's running based on BPM. If I want to really stop it, I will go Sync Options, M1, and put a BPM key. Now, nope. Fuck this video.